Hello everybody, I'm going to do a review on this NorthStar pressure washer I picked up from Northern Tool. This is item number 15781820. I'm going to be including another review in this review for an accessory I picked up for it as well. The sticker shock on this got me a little bit. This retails for $999.99, so $1,000 is what you're looking at right here. I did find a coupon code online with a quick search to save $50 off a $250 or more purchase. So my outlay for this was $949.99 plus tax, and I'll get into the other expense momentarily. This is a 3,300 PSI pressure washer at 3 gallons per minute. That's pretty impressive in this price point. It has a GX270 Honda motor on it, so it should be very fuel efficient. It's very easy to start. It has a low oil filter cutoff switch in it, and I'll get to that momentarily as well. It has a cat triplex pump on the front of it, which is the blue thing you're looking at there hanging off the front. According to my research, those pumps are very, very good pumps, very serviceable and inexpensive to service. So that's another reason I went with this. And it is a triplex pump, so it puts out tremendous pressure. It has a 50-foot hose on it, a professional style wand, I will call it. It came with 5 tips to put in it of varying degrees from 0, I believe, to maybe 40 or 45, and then it has a chemical nozzle. It is a downstream injection, which means you can put chemicals in and it's after the pump. So you can put anything in it you want, really, within reason, and it doesn't go through the pump, so it won't cause any damage if you're using something that's more caustic. There are some things that I do not like about it, and I'll get to those as well as the review progresses, but I've used it for about 5 or 10 minutes before the sun went down. I finally got it all set up and put together, and wow is all I can say. I will get in for a little finer detail. I absolutely love it at this stage. I cannot speak for its longevity, but based on the reviews on their website, they were all outstanding. I believe I read one review where somebody said they basically burn it up because they didn't put oil in it before they used it. So read the manual. That's my point. Make sure you put oil in the motor. Alright, well, here's a shot of the cat pump. It comes preloaded with oil out of the box. This vent right here had a black cap in it. You just need to pull that out and discard it. There is a sight glass in the front to monitor your oil level. There are maintenance schedules spelled out in the manuals for both the pump and the engine. The manuals are written quite well and easy to understand. Like I said, this is a triplex pump, and basically what that means is there are 3 pistons in here. As the water enters into the first piston, it will intake it, compress it to a degree, and then the next stage it would intake it into the next piston, compress it even further, and it will follow its chain out. Now these are 120 degrees apart as far as the camshaft goes, so one full revolution will be a full cycle. A benefit to that is you get a constant flow and there's no pulsating in it. If you just had a single piston pump, you're going to have pulsations as you're pressure washing. So that's a really good way to do that. And like I said before, these pumps are supposed to be really serviceable for parts availability, ease of doing anything like that. Now there are a couple other features in this setup here I wanted to point out. Number one is the siphon tube right here. This is where you would siphon in from a container to mix your chemicals in, and they mix in at a ratio of 15 to 1. So you would have 15 parts of water to 1 part chemical. That's the ratio that's been set up. Now this will only siphon with the chemical tip, the low pressure tip. When you put on a different tip of any of the other ones that are available, it will stop siphoning. So you put on the low pressure tip, you introduce your chemical into the stream at a low pressure, you let the chemical do the work, you switch your tip and come back with a high pressure and then wash it off. Another feature it has is a pressure valve right here. You can regulate the output pressure on this. Now out of the box I had a problem. I could not turn this by hand. There is a plastic cover on this and it's not held on by any fastener or anything, but I just simply got on this with a wrench and backed it off. So now I can turn this by hand, reduce the pressure, increase the pressure back out. So you can really tailor your pressure to whatever specific job you're doing, and I like that. Now one thing I will note about this is there's no positive stop when you are reducing the pressure. You can actually wind this all the way off and it has a spring underneath. It's not a big deal. I don't know how much it will take to reduce the pressure down to its minimum, but that's just an FYI. I believe you can buy a gauge or something in line you could put on there and really tailor it and reset it up to a specific pressure. Now there are two other features. There is a relief valve right here, this big brass thing. So I'm assuming if the pressure builds up too much, it'll blow off, kind of like a hot water tank, and it'll reduce the pressure down. Now another feature that I really liked about this is thermal protection. This valve right here, this fitting, is thermally protected. So in most power washers that I've ever used or through my research, if you let them run too long without actually cycling new water through, it will heat up to the point where you can actually start hurting your seals and your pistons and things of that nature. This one, if you're unattended and it is running and it gets so hot in here, this thermal valve will open up, it will circulate water through and blow the warm water out here and keep the unit cool. I have not seen that work and I hope to never see it work, but I thought that was a pretty cool feature. Another feature is a screen filter right here to catch any sediment that comes in your supply line. You can take this apart, clean your filter, and put it back together. Alright, like I said, this has a Honda GX270 motor on it. I believe it's a 9 horsepower motor. It has a low oil cutoff switch in it, which I think is a kind of a neat feature, and that's where this yellow wire runs down to this sensor right here. When the engine oil gets so low, it will disrupt the spark and the motor will die. Now it may trickle back down into the crankcase to where you can start it up again, but it will shortly die thereafter. So it would be very difficult to hurt the motor due to a lack of oil. So I thought that was a pretty neat feature. Now I was kind of disappointed when I opened up the box, and it does come in 2 boxes by the way, that this did not come with the oil to put in the motor. And for the money I paid, driving all the way out to get it, I think it should have been supplied. No big deal, I had to go pick it up. Now I went and picked up a 1 quart of 10W30, that's the weight I'm using in my area. It's all in the manual to where you're at. Just to see if I could get away with a quart and not the 1.2 quarts it calls for. I can't. I put the entire quart in it and it would not start because of the safety feature, which is okay in my opinion. So I put in the 0.2 and it fired right up first pull. So that's just an FYI if somebody has an engine with this or gets one similar to this. If it just won't run for some reason, your oil level is the first thing you check before you go to checking spark and checking, make sure you have fuel, fire, and air. So this is just something to remember there. Now you put the oil in right here, but there is another opening on the other side with a cap on it. This is the side with the dipstick. They give the instructions in there on where to set it according to the dipstick, but there's no reference marks on the dipstick. So I just brought the oil just a little ways up onto the bottom threads in the hole and it fired up first pull. No big deal. Okay, as mentioned, it came in 2 boxes. And the smaller of the two, I believe it only consisted of the handle, the wand, and the hose. And in the main box was, of course, the pressure washer, all the nozzles, the hardware required, and I believe the hanging bracket for the hose. Simple toolless to put the handle on, 2 carriage bolts, 2 big handle nuts, and that was that. The only thing I needed a tool for was the hose holder bracket here. It was just 2 13mm nuts. It goes through 2 holes, tighten it up, no big deal. It came with a really good quality hose that is covered in some material, so it looks like it would be non-marring. It looks like it wouldn't snag well on things. What I can say about it so far is that I don't like is where this is forced to be mounted. I don't like coiling hoses up this small. I like making bigger loops so it's faster to roll it up, it's faster to get things apart. So I don't like the placement of this, and I haven't entertained putting it anywhere else, but that's just where I'm at right now. That's just one thing I don't particularly care for, but it's not a big deal. This is a shot of the holder for the nozzles. It comes with 5 nozzles. This will pull out, and it has 2 magnets in here that actually hold it in position. And it holds it quite well, so I don't think there would be a problem with that vibrating out. This also serves another function, which I would never use, but it does have a belt clip on it, so you could attach it to yourself and switch nozzles at the ready. Personally, I would select the proper nozzles for the job and maybe put them in my pocket, but it's pretty neat the way they did that. Now this comes with 5 nozzles. It has a 0 degree, which is very good for getting into high areas, 2nd story, maybe the eaves on your house. Get way a good distance with that. A 15 degree, a 25 degree, and a 40 degree, and the chemical nozzle. And of course the chemical nozzle is a low pressure nozzle, which is the only one that will siphon any fluid to put on your surface. So you would introduce the fluid with this one and then switch to another appropriate nozzle for rinsing. What I do not like about these nozzles by default is that obviously they're color coded, but they did not put in their molds the degrees in which they are. And I'm assuming these are standard colors, 0, 15 for yellow, 25 for green, etc., etc. I just think they should have done that. You know, memorize your colors, whatever. Another thing that I think would have been a good feature is this only holds 5, which is the nozzles that came with it. I've purchased another nozzle, but there are no provisions anywhere on this device to store them with the unit. I guess if there's one that I would not use very often, I could take it out, store it elsewhere, and then put my new nozzle in here for storage. Here is a shot of the engine controls. Before you go to start the engine, the first thing you would want to do is hook up your water source and make sure it is flowing to the unit. I don't believe they mentioned this in the manual, but I would highly recommend holding the trigger on your wand to expel any air that may be in the system, and that will prevent or help prevent any cavitation in the pump. You would want to turn it to the on position. You would want to turn your fuel source on. You want to turn your choke fully on for a cold start, as well as the throttle lever, which is right here that you can see. To the right would be minimum and to the left would be maximum. Pull it up about 1/3. And from right there, from a cold start, you should be able to pull this one time and the motor will be running. After it starts up, you can start increasing your throttle and turning off your choke and go to full maximum. Now to shut the unit down, you would want to reduce your throttle down to minimum, turn off the engine, turn off your full fuel supply. Now if you're within working on a job, you don't necessarily need to turn off your fuel supply. From a warm start, go about 1/3, leave your choke off, turn the switch back on, and pull your cord. When you're going to store the unit, you would turn it down, turn it off, and make sure you cut your fuel supply. This is the wand that came with the unit. It is a very, very nice quality and very well balanced in my opinion. It has a quick coupler right here to insert your hose, as opposed to one that might be up here on other units. So with it being back here, it makes it really easy to move it around and keep the holes out of your way, as well as it should help reduce kinks in my opinion. There's a trigger lock right here for safety. There is no trigger on, so you do have to hold this, and that, in my opinion, is another safety feature. It came with an extension that has a bend on the end of it, as well as the quick coupler for your nozzles. The only thing I really did right here is there's an O-ring in this section. Rather than put it together dry, I used some valve stem grease, which is nothing more than just a waterproof grease. I put a little bit around there just to aid in putting this together without disturbing or hurting those O-rings. So you just simply line up the end and tighten this up, and you're finished. This is the only accessory I purchased in addition to the unit itself. This is called a turbo nozzle, and it has a 3650 PSI maximum. This is item number 22357 for reference. These retail for $99.99, so let's call it $100. I found another coupon code which we used at the store for anything over $100 was $20 off. So I quizzed them on that, and they marked this up 1 penny. So we were able to get this for $80 plus tax. Now that's a lot of money for a nozzle. What this nozzle does is rotates. There is a ceramic portion in here that actually rotates the stream in a very, very fast circle. And these are supposed to be a lot more efficient in cleaning things, and let me tell you, they are. I will show this when I do some testing in real time and let you see how it actually performs. And these are also serviceable units, so you can buy replacement parts and service them on your own. And it is actually quite heavy. This blue section you're seeing here is not very soft, but pretty soft. So if you bang it on something, you won't mar your surface. But that's the one accessory that I purchased, and I would like to be able to hold this on the machine, but there's no space. Alright, well, it's a new day. I'm going to do a cold start up here, just to show you how easy it does start. I'll turn my fuel line on. Full choke. Third throttle. Here's a quick shot of the concrete out in front of my shop. I worked on this last night just for a few minutes. You can see where I stopped. So I'm going to break out that rotating nozzle. It's going to be loud, so I'm just going to show a shot on how effective this is. Well, that's pretty much the end of the review on this nozzle. This thing is amazing, worth every penny. It worked great, it was super fast, it's very, very effective, and I wasn't using any chemicals or anything. I was just straight water on that concrete, and it looks new. So this is my new best friend right here. I'm going to attempt to show the various nozzles in their progressive stages from 0 up to 40. So it's going to be quite loud, but I'm just going to shoot them across the yard or show the fans right here. I'm really curious about the 0, see how far I can get it out there. It was hard to see in the last clip the effectiveness and how far I got down range with this 0 nozzle. And I got a good 20 to 25 feet with it, and it still appeared like it would have enough power to actually hit the surface and do its job. This would be a very good nozzle for cleaning up high on your house from the ground. The rest of the nozzles, I was just trying to show the degrees of fans. They all did splay out to different degrees. I'm going to try to find something to use to try the chemical nozzle out. I might just use simple green since that's about all I've got. I don't have any appropriate cleaners yet. Alright, well I have my simple green hooked up and the chemical nozzle put in. I'm going to start it up and see if we can see it siphoning the fluid out. This is going in 100% concentrated, and it'll be cut down to 15 to 1 according to the manual. Well, this worked great, siphoning out of that jug at the 15 to 1. Just apply your chemical, let it do its job, switch this out to a high pressure tip, and wash and rinse it off. Very satisfied with this. Well, this is a shot of my front porch. At one point this was painted red, and slowly over the years it's coming off. I'm going to try the pressure washer on this with no chemicals or anything just to see what it does. I don't expect it to remove all this paint, but who knows, it might. I'll probably need to use some form of a stripper on it and then power wash it past that. Well, I tried that rotating nozzle on this porch and I was really impressed with how it worked. It took a lot of that paint off. The stuff that you're seeing here is, I could tell whoever painted this, that's where they poured out of the can and they started rolling it, so this is on pretty good. I haven't decided if I'm going to paint this or tile it, but it needed to be cleaned up anyway. You need eye protection for one. Rubber boots would be nice. I'm just soaked. So if you're going to be using one quite a bit, you might even get a raincoat. This is a quick shot of my back stoop. This thing was really nasty, and I just sprayed it with water and it cleaned it right up. I'm going to end up tearing this out anyway, but... Alright, I went ahead and picked up one of these pressure gauges from Northern Tool. This retailed for $19.99, and I found a $5 off coupon code. So I got this for $14.99 plus tax. I thought that was pretty fair. It's a 2.5-inch glycerin filled gauge. It's a very steady needle with the glycerin, and it seems to be quite accurate. When I was going over there, I was looking at their website and looking at this, and I took a peek at the pressure washer I purchased a few days prior, and it was on sale for $40 off what I paid. So when I got to the store, I asked them about that, and they said, well, sure, no problem, we'll take care of it, and they refunded me $40 plus tax, which I thought was pretty cool. Their customer service was great. It was a no-hassle transaction, and I was completely satisfied. Now, I shot a clip of this gauge to show it work, but putting my camera so close to the engine and everything, it was just a big wave. So you'll just have to take my word for it. It was right at 3,300 in bypass, and that's something you guys need to take into consideration. The rating on power washers or pressure washers, they're rated in bypass mode, meaning when you're not on the trigger, and they will fall off when you actually squeeze the trigger, and that's effectively your pressure you're cleaning with. So mine fell off to right about 3,000. It depends on the tip you're using. If you're using a pretty large orifice, you may get a little bit less pressure, but that's something to keep in mind if you're looking for one.
If you're wanting 3,000 psi of cleaning pressure, then you need to purchase one that is rated probably for 300 psi more. So 3,000, you might get 2,700. Now, where the pressure is where your cleaning comes in, how effective it is at cleaning whatever you're trying to clean. How fast you can clean are where the gallons per minute come in. So a higher gallons per minute, you're going to be able to clean faster. Let's say 3 gallons per minute, you'll clean faster than 2.5. So that's just something to take into consideration. So I wanted something with a fairly high pressure and a fairly high gallons per minute so I could clean effectively as well as quickly. And by doing it that way, you can actually save on water, you can save on gasoline, and of course you save on time. So all in all, this gauge seemed to work quite well. I dialed my machine all the way down to 200 pounds, which you're obviously not going to use that, but I was able to regulate it down to 200 and progressively all the way up to 3,300 in bypass.
Well, alright, all in all, I'm completely satisfied with the performance on this pressure washer. I cleaned my entire house, 2 outbuildings with it, probably in a matter of an hour. Played around with testing, it never missed a beat, it's got great pressure, it cleans fast, everything I was looking for. The only 2 things that I don't particularly care for, and I'll state them again, is where the hose is. I like big loops like you see here on my hose. You have to do very tight loops with that. Secondly, I think they should add a provision for other nozzles, accessories, maybe some to keep O-rings in, like a little box compartment behind this NorthStar plate to hold things like that. If you blow an O-ring out of the tip or the nozzle accidentally, you could keep some spares, insert a new one, and there you go. But all in all, Northern Tool, it was great. Their customer service is great. This should last me many, many years of good service, providing I maintain it properly, which I will. I realize this is long, but this was the only... I hadn't seen really any reviews, video reviews on the NorthStar pressure washers. So I wanted to put one up there and really run it through its paces. And so far, like I said, I'm completely satisfied. So hope this helps. Thanks for watching and good luck.